Actor and activist George Takei is here tonight at City Hall presenting his petition with over 320,000 signatures coming up.
And a damaged spillway for the country's tallest dam has forced thousands of Northern California residents out of their homes. We talked to a family in the area.
And we'll show you how flower stores are getting ready for Valentine's Day tomorrow. Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
Community leaders, activists, and Mayor Eric Garcetti are gathering to show support for the Muslim community. Good evening, I'm Gabriela Vidal.
And I'm Jake Ingracia. Annenberg Media's Madison Weil is live at City Hall where George Takei is presenting a petition condemning President Trump's travel ban. Maddie?
Hi guys, that's right. I'm here outside City Hall where actor and activist George Takei is here presenting his petition with over 320,000 signatures to the leaders of the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Now, this petition opposes any and all governmental action which would discriminate against a person based on their religion or their national origin. Now, this is particularly important to George Takei because when he was just 5 years old, he was taken from his home at gunpoint and placed in a Japanese internment camp. This, of course, came as a result of Executive Order 9066 issued by President Roosevelt during World War II after Pearl Harbor. Now, Takei says that he sees similarities between what happened then and what is happening now.
Now the Trump administration wants to target Muslims by creating a registry and blocking them from even entering the U.S. because of their national origin. That's precisely how this begins, and we must say never again.
You did great.
All right, so I'm joined now by Hasnaid Syed, who is a member of the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Now, we know that, according to George, there are similarities between what happened back in World War II and what is happening now with the Muslim community. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think what happened to make Japanese Americans interned into camps in the U.S. was what came out of a sense of fear. And right now, it's the same sense of suspicion and fear that's marginalizing and dividing Americans one against the other. And George made it his life work to ensure that what happened to Japanese Americans in the 40s will never happen again. And right now, we are at the cusp of that possibly taking place by us dividing American against American.
Well, thank you so much for being here. George is about to speak in just a few minutes, so we'll have to get back in there. But guys, thanks so much. And over to you, Claudia, our international reporter, with the next story.
Thank you, Maddie. The growing support for far-right political parties will be tested in elections throughout Europe this spring. The thousands of refugees from the Middle East and Africa are putting pressure on governments of France, Germany, the Netherlands, and other countries. I spoke to a USC professor of international relations about why so many countries are shifting to the right.
And you're beginning to see people question the government programs giving to these outsiders and the other. And a lot of it has to do with simply fear. I don't think Le Pen or Wilders or anyone else is going to win a majority that they control. It's not going to be a Trump victory in that sense. I see them as being players potentially in coalitions.
We have Eliza and Marley visiting us today. They're both Dutch students developing a research project here in LA. So thank you for coming. So based off of what Professor Lemmy was saying about far-right politics in Europe, what do you have to say about the situation in your own country?
Well, we recognize it definitely. We notice also a lot of fear in our country, and people are concerned about their jobs and the economy and what's going to happen to the typical Dutch culture as they view it. So people are definitely concerned. Yeah.
And have you noticed any similarities between the rhetoric used, for example, by Trump or the one used in your country?
Yeah, it's really playing into the fear of people, of the immigrants, and that they're doing everything wrong to our society. So. Yeah.
And also that most of the money, Wilders and Trump claim most of the money goes to foreigners and immigrants, and the money should go to the original population of the country, they claim. So.
And your elections are coming up in March, right? So do you have any concerns about that?
Well, our system is different than the one in America, so I'm not really concerned that it has that big influence that Trump has here in America.
But Wilders is very popular, so we are afraid that he will gain a lot of seats and also gain a lot of influence in the country.
So you're here in LA for your research project, right? So do you want to tell me more about what that research is about?
Yeah, well, we're researching the Muslim community, and well, we're here now for 2 weeks. So, and it will be about the empowerment and the activism they have in response to the discrimination and stigmatization they experience.
Yeah, so we visit mosques and Islamic centers, and we talk to people, and we want to hear about their experiences and the actions they take. It's really cool.
Well, I'm so glad you guys are developing this research, and thank you so much for coming. And we'll go back to you, Gabby.
And President Trump defended the arrest of more than 600 undocumented immigrants by federal agents over the last few days. Some USC students say they are afraid of what might happen to their family and friends.
Once I heard about these raids, it was kind of, scary for me just to think of that. I could imagine like what those families are going through, and I hope that my family will not go through that.
It's just kind of hard to go about my day without thinking about it. I would compare it to being traumatized, because it's no one else really has to think about that.
The arrest took place across 11 states. They were the first immigration and customs enforcement raids since Trump's inauguration. More than 160 people were arrested in Southern California alone.
And evacuations of residents near the Oroville Reservoir are still in effect this evening. Nearly 200,000 people had to leave their homes yesterday after emergency workers discovered structural damage on the emergency spillway. If the structure can't hold back the water, communities downstream could be in serious trouble. The country's tallest dam at Lake Oroville in Northern California in a state of emergency today. Following heavy rains last week, the reservoir's water rose to critical levels, and a gaping hole appearing in the dam's primary spillway, 200 feet wide and 30 feet deep, preventing officials from draining water. Then, the emergency spillway, used as a backup, developed structural damage too, with officials warning of an imminent failure and the potential for a catastrophic flood.
If we can't use the spillways that we want to, then the dam is in danger of topping over, and many people don't realize the tremendous force of water. And when the dam breaks, that whole reservoir lake behind it just rushes right down and takes everything out in its path.
State water officials ordered immediate evacuation of nearly 200,000 people. The sudden emergency triggering chaos, gridlock lasting for miles and hours. USC student James McDaniel's family evacuated last night.
I didn't believe it at first, and then when they said it again, I'm like, oh man, this is real. They're actually trying to evacuate everybody.
His parents had just minutes to grab what they could and go.
You really don't realize the shock that comes when you realize that you may lose everything. Until you realize that you may not come back to anything, it really is a shock to the system that sets in.
Now, the McDaniels returned home today, but they told me they're keeping their cars packed up in case they need to get out fast. And nearly 200,000 people are still under those mandatory evacuation orders tonight as officials rush to fix that damage ahead of more rain later this week.
Steven Mnuchin was sworn in as Treasury Secretary late today after being confirmed by a vote of 53 to 47. The controversial pick is a former Goldman Sachs executive. Democrats accuse his company of profiting from home foreclosures during the 2008 recession. In a more bipartisan vote, Dave Shulkin has been confirmed as the next Secretary of Veterans Affairs by a vote of 100 to 0. And big-name companies continue to tiptoe around their decision to remove Ivanka Trump's line of clothing and products from their stores. The latest company to take this position is Burlington Coat Factory. Burlington's website is no longer featuring Trump's brand products, while Sears and Kmart have been removing, quote, a very small number of Trump-branded items. Companies argue this is in response to consumer declines in purchasing these items and not about politics. An expert on consumer behavior highlights how this decision can be both.
Sales numbers come in at a certain time, and decisions about continuing product lines, are likely to happen at a certain point in time in the calendar year. So it could very well be that this is consistent with what happened. On the other hand, that could also be kind of an excuse for feeling that they would alienate their own customers by selling a brand that their customers felt was not representative of their own values.
Nordstrom was one of the first companies to drop Trump's products. The company says the decision was motivated by sales, not politics. Nordstrom said Ivanka was notified about the decision in January. In a statement, the company said, quote, over the past year, sales of the branch have steadily declined to a point where it didn't make good business sense for us to continue with the line for now. And USC is once again ranked in the top 3 most successful universities for fundraising. USC raised more than $1 billion in gifts and pledges last year. Harvard and Stanford were the only other schools in the country that raised more money in 2016.
Campaigns are, there's always people that are willing to contribute, obviously, to USC, but a campaign is a great way to really get everybody around, a solid goal.
The increase in donations is attributed to the university's Campaign for USC, a program designed to raise $6 billion for the school. The 4 biggest contributing factors this year to fundraising total in order are endowments for scholarships, capital, current use for academics, and endowment for faculty and research.
Coming up, a closer look at an upcoming ballot measure that could affect development and traffic.
Later, what some people are doing to improve voter turnout in the upcoming local elections.
And with Valentine's Day coming up, we'll see how flower shops are getting ready for a big and very profitable day tomorrow.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed all that.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Welcome back. An upcoming ballot measure could put a temporary ban on some development projects throughout the city. But as Eitan Wallace shows us, not everyone is on board. Don't appear to have that sound for you, but we'll get back to it later in the show.
Yeah, we apologize for that, but we'll see if we can get that later. Voters around Los Angeles County are headed to the polls March 7th for local elections. Annenberg Media's Aiden McMillan shows us how city leaders are trying to improve voter turnout.
Registered to vote? Good. You're voting March 7th, right? Oh, come on.
Voter participation in local LA County elections is underwhelming.
They're small and boring. Look, nobody cares. Like, I mean, as much as important as they are, like, no one's like, yes, like, I really care about, like, my street cleaning.
Other prospective voters are just tired of politics in general.
Considering, all the political turmoil that we've experienced with the presidential election, I'm just really kind of turned off by politics.
Only 8% of registered voters cast their ballots in an LA City primary election in March 2015. That number is low, but still other cities around LA County aren't performing well in voter turnout. Officials from those cities are trying to change that. West Hollywood is one of those cities trying to fight voter apathy. The city is holding pop-up registration drives before the February 21st deadline.
It's dispelling a lot of myths that are out there and a lot of misconceptions about elections. Through events like this, we're trying to get people to understand that your vote counts. We count every single ballot.
That is exactly why West Hollywood resident Willie Mack has decided to vote on March 7th. Mack has never voted in a municipal election.
I think it's time to have a much stronger voice in terms of what's going on in local politics. That's how we're going to really get bigger change on the national level.
Are you registered to vote? Yes. Yay! March, there's an election.
For Annenberg Media, I'm Aiden McMillan.
Well, it was a really beautiful day today. I'm kind of hoping it's going to stay the same tomorrow for Valentine's Day.
Wouldn't it be nice to have some sunshine? Let's go over to Addie at the maps. Hey, Addie.
So much, Jake. Hope you guys both got outside and enjoyed that nice weather we had today. We had weather in the 70s, which is always great. That's why we live here in LA. So let's look at those current conditions. 66 degrees, still pretty nice outside. Looks like a great night for an outdoor dinner if you're doing something early for Valentine's Day. Now let's take a look at the mountains. For tomorrow, we have Big Bear at 56, and we have low 70s pretty much throughout, high 70s in Palm Springs. But if you're looking to go to Big Bear, it could be a nice day to enjoy the slopes. But if the slopes don't interest you, you can head to the coast. Malibu's at 63 with pretty much low 70s throughout the rest of the area. Now let's take a look at USC. We got USC at 71 and LAX at 65, pretty much low 70s and high 60s throughout the rest of the area. Now let's see your 5-day forecast. We got partly cloudy weather for tomorrow, but 71 degrees is pretty nice for Valentine's Day. And sun Wednesday and Thursday as well, with actually a high of 77 on Wednesday. That's going to be a nice day for sure, but unfortunately dropping to 60 and 63 on Saturday with some showers you can see there. Now, unfortunately, the rain we are going to see on Friday will continue throughout the weekend, Saturday and Sunday as well. In fact, we are going to see an influx of rain all over California. Now, this is the West Coast rain outlook for the next 5 days. As you can see, in San Diego, in Southern California, we're going to get about 1 to 2 inches of rain. And up in San Francisco, however, the north is going to get much more rain with 2 to 3 inches, you can see there. But if you head inland, Oroville is actually going to get 3 to 5 inches, as you can see. Makes sense with all the flash flood warnings we have seen there, as you were talking about earlier, Jake, with your story. Well, that's all I have for weather, but hopefully we won't be doing too much crazy outdoor stuff this weekend because we've got a lot of rain coming in. I really need to invest in an umbrella. I really do.
A lot of rain, and we're going to keep Oroville in our thoughts with that dam situation going on there. But thank you, Addie, so much for that report. Well, lovers are expected to spend more than $18 billion on Valentine's Day gifts this year.
About 35% of Valentine's Day shoppers will give out flowers. One florist says she always raises the price of flowers near the holiday.
The bunch is like $18 for 2 dozens, and right now for 2 dozens, they're $35.
Vendors say they're just passing along the increased cost.
It changes significantly, but not because the flour goes up, because the freights go up. So they'll, they normally charge between $300, $350 a pallet. Now they change it up to like $450 to $500 a pallet for freight.
The National Retail Federation predicts that this year people will spend less money on Valentine's Day. They predict that on average, a person will spend about $136, which is $10 less than last year.
Some economic uncertainty, even though the stock market is up, a lot of people may be just uncertain as to what may happen politically, if there might be trade barriers.
I don't mind spending it because I'm telling you, it's my wife and my daughters, and I really love them, and I think they're worth a lot more than that.
3, 2, 1. It seems people don't mind spending the extra money on loved ones. For Annenberg Media, I'm Christina Galvan.
Thanks for that, Christina. And we have breaking news to bring you right now. A black Tesla has hit a curb on campus outside the Traveler statue. Now, DPS does not know how the car got on campus, and the damage to the car is minimal. No one was injured. DPS tells us the driver was disoriented and treated at the scene. And we're going to go over to sports now. USC heating up on the courts.
Yeah, I heard something about UConn and this amazing 100-point score that they've had.
100-point winning streak. But I'll
right.
Wow. About that one.
And here at USC, the men's basketball team is looking to bounce back after a close loss at home over the weekend. Finally, the women of Troy are preparing for a crosstown showdown of their own as the women's tennis team comes back to face UCLA. Stay tuned.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
French fries. Finding best potatoes.
No!
Russet. Fingerling. Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back to ATVN. The #1 ranked UConn women's basketball team is looking to make history tonight against #6 South Carolina by winning its 100th straight game. UConn has not lost a game since November 17th of 2014, where they lost to Stanford in triple overtime. The streak includes 2 national championships and 60 straight wins at home. Now, to give you some perspective on just how long the Huskies have gone without a loss, we asked USC students if they could even remember what they were doing the last time UConn lost a game.
I was in high school. I don't know what I was doing on the day.
I have not the slightest idea.
I don't know where I was yesterday.
Taylor Swift's Shake It Off was the #1 thing. So, says a lot.
Now, should the Huskies pull through tonight, they will be just 4 games shy of passing the North Carolina women's soccer team's record for most consecutive wins in any NCAA sport ever. But the USC men's basketball team had their 5-game winning streak snapped last Saturday versus Oregon. They'll be back at it this week as they take on crosstown rival UCLA. And for more on that matchup, let's toss it to our sports correspondent, Aaron Glazer. Aaron?
Thanks, Kristen. USC beat UCLA 84-76 last time right here at the Galen Center, so the Bruins are definitely ready to see USC again this Saturday. At the Galen Center, UCLA standout Lonzo Ball had 15 points and 10 rebounds, but also committed 7 turnovers. USC's Shaquan Aaron had 23 points off the bench in that one, coupled with 4 rebounds and no turnovers. In the loss to Oregon, USC shot 6 of 27 from behind the arc, equating to only 22%. They also committed 16 turnovers in the loss. Now, for USC to beat UCLA in the famous Pauley Pavilion this Saturday, they have to contain Lonzo Ball, but stopping Thomas Welsh early and in the paint will be equally as important. Also, USC must convert their 3-point shots and get into a rhythm early, or else UCLA's student section, the Den, might eat them up. But it should be a great game in a historic arena. Back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Aaron. And another team is going up against their crosstown rival this week is the USC women's tennis team. The women of Troy will face the Bruins on Saturday. Last time the two teams met, USC defeated UCLA 4-1. A big part of that victory was the doubles play of Zoe Katz and Madison Westby. However, this year's lineup for the Bruins is full of new faces, which Westby says adds more pressure. And love is in the air here on campus, and as we get ready to celebrate Valentine's Day tomorrow, I found a few sweet and salty tweets from our student athletes who are dishing up their best love advice on Twitter. Now, first up, we have USC football sophomore corner Iman Marshall. He gave us some practical advice with the ever-relevant, they either going to love or hate you. Let's hope it's all love this Valentine's Day, Biggie. And this one is for all the single ladies and gentlemen out there, coming from women's basketball junior forward Kristen Simon. She tweeted, "We need time to be alone," maybe in reference to Wednesday's holiday, Singles Awareness Day. But finally, the best of the best sweet tweets comes to us from men's basketball guard Elijah Stewart. He tweeted, "Women play a year-round sport called games. I'm here to tell you it's emotionally draining. Hashtag Naha I rock." Well, Elijah, at least you have plenty of practice playing games. Luckily, he and the rest of our student athletes won't have any games tomorrow, giving them plenty of time to celebrate. Back to you guys.
And we'll be right back.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
Thank you, dear. Well, you're very supple. Just like I was at your age. Back then, I was a sex expert. Used to call me the buttered biscuit. I know about birth control, too. So you can ask me anything, baby.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
An upcoming ballot measure could put a temporary ban on some development projects throughout the city, but as Eitan Wallace shows us, not everyone is on board.
Dozens of people marched in West LA today in support of Measure S. It would put a 2-year moratorium on some developments in the city of Los Angeles.
Constantly, these big mega developments are tearing down rent-stabilized buildings. 22,000 rent-stabilized buildings have been lost because of mega developments.
Developments that the Yes on S campaign says are backed by greedy developers. If passed, Measure S would freeze certain building projects that would increase the height and density of some buildings, as well as those seeking to build on open space throughout the city.
If we don't do a moratorium, this place is going to look like Manhattan in about 15 minutes.
For Measure S supporter Kevin Karasi, it's personal. He says he was evicted from his apartment complex because a developer wanted to expand and rebuild.
They displaced 25 people who'd been living in a community together and completely changed our whole neighborhood. I just don't want it happening to the rest of our community, man, you know?
To give you an idea of the types of development plans the Yes on S campaign is trying to fight against, well, one such plan is the expansion of this West LA car dealership. The Yes on S campaign says if the developers move forward with their plans to expand on it, then that will lead to significantly increased traffic here in West LA. But one opponent of Measure S says the measure will cost the city 12,000 jobs.
While we recognize that there is a challenge with regards to development and affordable housing and good jobs, what the proponents have put forward simply goes too far.
If passed in the March primary, the measure's 2-year moratorium will take effect immediately. For Annenberg Media in West LA.
Thanks for watching and have a good night.
Good night.